Joining me now, former Maryland Democratic Congresswoman and MSNBC political analyst Donna Edwards, Republican strategist and former Doug Burgum presidential campaign spokesman Lance Trover. So, Lance, Trump also said if he failed to lower grocery prices, as he promised, we just heard him repeatedly, it wouldn't make his presidency a failure. So what would it mean?
I think this is being overblown. What he's doing is level setting with the American people. That's what he's doing because, look,
he set the levels during the campaign. The level he set was, I will bring down grocery prices and it will be simple.
Yeah, absolutely. But
and
I
now
think
he's saying it's hard.
Well, look, he's level setting with the American people. Let's take a step back. I mean, Joe Biden and the Democrats. It's very important to remember how we got here, so we can talk about how we're going to move forward.
We're not talking about how we got here. We're talking about what Donald Trump said to the American people while he was running for president. He said, "I'm going to bring prices down. It's easy. It's simple." Now he's saying it's hard.
Well, look, this is important about how we got here because the Democrats, led by Joe Biden, came in and spent trillions upon trillions of dollars in this economy and lit inflation on fire. It is up over 20%. This is a massive hole we have to dig out of. And he also talked about there, and I think this is also critical and just as bad, are the disastrous energy policies that are also driving inflation in this country because it is the Biden administration that has refused to make America more energy independent, make America more energy dominant. Unless it involves an electric car and a battery, they have refused to do anything. And with that has come higher energy costs for businesses and consumers. That's why Donald Trump has created the National Energy Council that Doug Burgum is going to chair, because they need to try to find a way to fast track our energy policies and get that under control. That's one of the quickest ways we can reduce costs in this country is if we get the energy costs going under control here in this country.
He said it would be simple. Well, Congresswoman, after telling Time Magazine that it would be hard, then Trump seemed to backtrack on the backtrack yesterday. He suggested that the answer was amping up production. Take a listen.
We'll do numbers that nobody will really see before. And when that happens, prices are going to start coming down because people can't afford their groceries, and they're going to be affording their groceries very soon.
So suggesting that grocery prices will come down because I guess we're going to produce more groceries. He said production costs. He didn't get specific on that. But how do you think Democrats should respond to this?
Well, I think Democrats have to really take on Donald Trump on this. He campaigned on lowering grocery prices as though an executive has full control over that anyway. And he basically just finagled a story for the American people that he knew wasn't true when he said it. And now he's trying to backtrack on it because he doesn't want to be held accountable when grocery prices are high. And in fact, some of the policies he's announced, like tariff policies, for example, against Canada, which is our #1 importer of eggs. Well, eggs are going to go up if you put tariffs on Canada. And so he's not being honest with the American people. And I think it's important for Democrats straight up to hit the president-elect on these issues and not to let go of that. And they need to hold him to account for the words that he spoke to win election that he is now backing off of.
So let me ask you, Doug, about what the Congresswoman just said. In fact, experts, many of them do say that Trump's much talked about tariffs would exacerbate supply chain issues. His plan to deport migrants would put additional upward pressure on food costs. If these core Trump policies actually do not bring down grocery costs, do you think it's possible it would impact Republicans who have to run on those decisions? It's amazing how quickly 2 years can go by, right?
Well, I first want to go back to what the Congresswoman said. I don't know that anybody's going to be taking advice from Democrats on how to lower costs when it's been their policies that have put us in the position that we're in right now. Look, I think the American public recognizes we are in a deep, deep hole when it comes to inflation. They know we've got a serious problem at our border, and I believe they're going to give the president a lot of latitude when it comes to using tariffs as a tool to work with these other countries who need to come to the table and help us get this border under control. This is a border where fentanyl is pouring across every single day. Thousands of families are being ripped apart every single day. Illegal immigrants are streaming into this country every single day. And it's clear that voters are sick and tired of it. So I think they're going to give him a lot of latitude when it comes to dealing with these issues.
Well, let me ask you about latitude, because, Congresswoman, I think there is a question. Trump came into his first presidency with a strong economy. It was created by the Obama administration. Inflation, not where most people would want it to be, but the economic recovery from the pandemic has been very strong by most accounts. Look at the stock market. The stock market is strong. But if grocery prices don't come down, do you think Republicans will pay a price?
Well, let's deal with some facts, Chris. I mean, inflation has actually been coming down, that there is growing pressure, I think, on farmers, for example, who know that they are going to be put under enormous pressure, and that will affect prices if Trump proceeds with his immigration policy. I mean, all of these things have a downward impact on the economy. And so I think it's going to be really important to hold this president-elect accountable for the promises that he made for the American people, and that inevitably with these policies, he's not going to be able to keep.